What's up, everybody? Welcome to 5v5 Live on Shot Callers eSports. Eric Kummel. I'm at Hempstead. It is Wednesday, and that means Worlds starts tomorrow morning.
Oh.
If you
thought it was going to be today.
If you're in the Eastern time zone like we are, we're in Toronto, so games for don't
too much information, man.
Jeez. They're coming. But yeah, games start at 3 in the morning, or at least the opening ceremonies start at 3 a.m. EDT. So that's pretty early. I'll probably be sleeping, but
probably. It's a very good chance.
You never know. Maybe I'm just so hyped for Worlds.
Can't sleep.
Like, I must watch RNG against Fenerbahçe. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for that game in particular.
Of all the games tomorrow, that one's definitely the most hype. Speaking of those games, on Thursday and Friday, we're going to be doing some little pop-ups shortly after the games end. So in case you miss it, probably around 10:30 or 11, we'll be on doing like some highlights and then quickly breaking down the games for like half an hour. Kind of like some Sports Center stuff going on, but with League of Legends. So make sure you check that out, and there'll be VODs as well in case you can't catch us live. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of content, plenty of highlights to be pumped out throughout all of Worlds, especially with the lack of hype videos from Riot Games.
Yes.
Where's the hype?
I don't know, but the memes are already going wild. But anyways, Worlds is here. It is here. It's officially arrived, I can say. It's officially arrived soon.
Officially arrived soon. I mean, you could have said that a week ago.
Well,
it officially arrives in 13 hours or so.
Yep, that sounds right.
Math?
It's pretty good on the fly. That's impressive.
You know.
But yeah, I mean, this is it's time. After all the play-ins, it's over. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just kind of excited for Worlds to be here. You know?
Yeah.
It's been so long.
I mean, we're going to look at most of the previews for the games tonight, this morning. Still don't know what to call it.
I don't know either. This, what is 3 in the morning called? Just this morning?
The witching hour.
Who calls it the witching hour?
How long does the witching hour last? Midnight to 3? I don't know.
Why
it's late.
What are witches doing at that hour?
Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to be up for it. That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
But there's a lot of good matchups in this first round, or first day. Usually there's like maybe 1 or 2 that you're like, ooh, that's juicy. But there's basically only 1 or 2 that I'm like, those aren't juicy. And it's pretty much the first and last ones of the day. So that whole middle part of the sandwich is looking pretty good.
It is. The sandwich looks pretty tasty. Mm-hmm. Screw the bread, but yes, it looks pretty good. Anyways, I mean, for us, the first and last game aren't that great. But if you're from China, obviously that's where the World is. It's in China, so they have to start and end with a Chinese team playing to make sure their audience stays
the whole time
connected the entire 6-hour block. So that's what they have to deal with, anyways. And we kind of get lucky. Just tune in for that middle block, and we're good to go. Yeah. Should we? You want to get into it, Eric?
I've been waiting for at least 30 seconds.
At least 30 seconds. Yeah. Well, let's not make it 35.
Okay.
Let's get to Royal never gave up against Fenerbahçe, which is probably the least exciting game of the day. Because I don't have much hype for Fenerbahçe. I know they made it out of play-ins. Congratulations. It's very exciting.
Easiest draw they could have possibly got.
Yeah, and still lost the game to Team 1 eSports out of the CB LoL.
Yep.
And now they're going up against Royal Never Give Up, who are kind of hyped with Xiaohu and Uzi on that roster. I don't think they're going to stand much of a chance, especially against RNG's early aggression. Might get ugly quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the thing people are talking about with RNG is their bot lane, basically across all the lanes, and specifically MLXG is right up in your grill pretty much as soon as minions spawn. I mean, we'll do a buff, 1 camp, and then be ganking all around, playing these aggressive junglers, especially 1 more of these aggressive junglers are becoming meta. I don't think 1907 Fenerbahçe has much of a chance.
You're right. I did screw it up. Sorry. It is 1907 Fenerbahçe eSport. One thing to watch out for. I mean, Patton's been the guy for Fenerbahçe this tournament. Yes, he had that one just on a jump, which I'm going to keep bringing up because it's hilarious. But I mean, he led the play-ins in kills by like 25 or something. He had 63. The next highest guy had like 38. So he was racking up the kills. And in that bot lane against Uzi, it's going to be probably the matchup to watch in this one. If they have any chance, Patton's going to have to carry the team as he has in these past few games. But I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see him being able to just single-handedly carry that team because there's so many different strengths that RNG has, unless they're, I mean, people have said they might get a little too aggressive for their own good, but I don't think 1907 Fenerbahçe is the game where you're going to see them do that.
Yeah, I don't think they have the tools to take advantage of too many mistakes from RNG. RNG is probably just too good across the board. The skill gap, very different.
Yep.
You got anything else for this one? I mean, this one's pretty self-explanatory in my books. I don't think, sure, there can be an upset. They happen all the time, whatever. But I would bet against it.
I mean, the theme here throughout these will be, I mean, a good chance for an upset is the very first game before teams have really gotten comfortable. RNG hasn't played in a while. Fenerbahçe just coming off a bunch of games in the play-in, so they have that going for them. But that's about it. That's about all they got going for them.
And a sweet logo.
Pretty sweet.
Who doesn't love Bulls, am I right, Eric?
I'm a big fan of Bulls.
There you go. Let's move on to G2 versus Samsung, which is possibly the most exciting game of the day. I mean, these teams both vying for that first place. G2 coming in as a #1 seed in that group. Samsung hopping in from #3 out of the LCK. So they're looking to still be the favorites, Samsung, despite G2 being the #1 seed in this group. But, I mean, I could see it going either way. Obviously, Samsung has an edge, but G2 is going to come into this with kind of a lot to prove because for the longest time it's been internationally terrible. But then at MSI, they turned it around, had a rough split, and all of a sudden they look great coming into this Worlds tournament after kind of running through the playoffs.
Yeah, and obviously they had that slump after MSI, but in that MSI tournament, I mean, they played SKT pretty well, especially that second game that they were able to take for themselves. They were just super aggressive. I mean, just look at the play here, Sven and Mithy. They were going deep. They wanted that kill. I mean, across the whole lane, every lane they were playing super aggressive, which isn't really atypical of what you see G2 doing. Lately, they've just been a team that's kind of sitting back, waiting for that late game, much like Samsung does. So we'll see if they try and revert back to this more aggressive stuff they did back in MSI, but probably not.
Also, Perks with the 1v1 on Faker in that MSI finals. So
he is the best player of all time. So.
Yeah, and of course, Samsung, like you said, they do like to kind of rely on that late game against KT in that 3-0 to get
sad.
in. Man,
sad final game.
It was a sad final game, but that's kind of what it is. Samsung thrives on is that late game. Their team fighting obviously is spectacular. I know that G2's shown some pretty good team fighting lately too, especially again the Splice series with some of what Mithy was doing on Alistar. He's a great team fighter, so some of these 5v5s should be pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And for G2, I mean, there's no warm-up. You come into the group stage and you get Samsung right away, first game of Worlds. I mean, we're going to see what version of G2 is actually going to show up, because if they play at the level they played in the summer playoffs, the level they played at MSI, then they can definitely compete with Samsung, I think, and make it a close game. But if those Worlds jitters come back and the G2 that drops games to Albus Nox, CLG, stuff like that, then they're going to be in for a world of hurt. But, I mean, it's the redemption season internationally for G2, and I think they're going to get out of this group. They might still go 0-2 against Samsung, but I think they still get out of this group. So I expect them to put up a pretty solid fight in this first game.
Yeah, I would expect a good performance out of them in this game. I mean, 1-5 G2 from last year's Worlds, MSI GT. You never know which one you're going to get. You don't think, no 0-6, eh? That's your prediction?
I'm not feeling an 0-6, no.
Yeah, at least one win off Fenerbahçe. No, I think it'll be a pretty good game to start things off. Again, first game of the tournament. This is kind of where now the team is warmed up. They haven't gotten used to the stage yet. So anyone can win, including G2 over Samsung. So, and there's not a huge difference in terms of skill between these two teams, I don't think. A lot of people would be like, yeah, Samsung out of Korea, they obviously have a huge edge. But, I mean, G2, when they're at their best, is actually pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I think the biggest disparity will probably be in that top lane with QV and Expect. So it's just going to be, hopefully for G2, Expect doesn't get a little too aggressive and kind of disrespectful towards what the top lane jungle duo of Samsung's doing, because he has gotten caught out before. But, I mean, you saw in those MSI clips what he can be capable of, too. You saw him 1v1ing Huni. I mean, he can be a really stud of a carry guy in the top lane, but I don't think that's what G2 is going to need from him in this tournament. Just don't let QV get super ahead.
Yeah, that is probably the main mismatch. And also Trick versus Ambition. When Trick is at his best, I mean, he's won MVPs in Europe before too. Yeah. So he obviously knows how to control games, how to follow other junglers around and make sure that they're not getting these free ganks off, counter ganking, counter jungling, all that stuff. When Trick is at his best, they can compete with pretty much anybody. So I think you can expect Perks and the bot lane to be pretty solid for G2.
Yeah.
It's just how that top side of the map performs. It's going to control their destiny in this tournament.
Control their destiny. Wow, I like
right.
that. That's pretty inspirational. You heard that, G2. You control your own destiny.
That's right. And if you're not hyped enough for G2, check out their music video.
Don't. Save yourself a click. Save your ears the pain.
Eric's not
I
a
didn't
fan.
think it was great.
Nah, but you can still watch it if you want to.
But kudos to G2 for taking the time and effort to do that. I love seeing people promote their brands, getting some less known musical acts in there. But,
yeah. I mean, every day Eric comes in moaning and crying about how there's no hype videos.
That's
True
right.
story.
Moaning and crying.
And now there's finally one.
Like a ghost.
At the same time.
Yeah. It's a good ghost. Yeah.
Pretty sweet. All right, let's go. Let's move.
Keep moving.
Longzhu versus Immortals.
Ooh.
Another spicy one. Another Korea versus the West game. Again, we've mentioned before, Immortals with Song going up against his former team in Longzhu Gaming. Kind of the top seeded Korea, number 2 seeded in North America. What are you looking for in this one?
I mean, I think the key, which is kind of in most games for Immortals, is Xmithy just pretty much directing traffic where the attention goes in whichever lane. I mean, you saw in that TSM game for where they had that massive lead, yes, the game they should have won, it was Xmithy being pretty aggressive with stuff. And look at all, they're just diving TSM. They were so aggressive moving as one single unit still pretty early on in the game, and that's how they amassed that huge gold lead. Don't expect them to get a huge gold lead against Longzhu, especially that early on in the game. But, I mean, Longzhu, a team that likes to focus top lane, so that'll be a bit of an issue. But I feel like the meta is somewhat switching away from these carry top laners, more so towards tank. But that being said, you still got to ban Jace from Khan.
Yeah,
it's an absolute must ban.
I mean, if you don't, this is the kind of stuff that
insane.
happens. He'll make outplays in ganks top, in team fights, he'll be able to stay alive and still put out so much damage. So really just try to take Khan out of his comfort zone, ban away as many of those carry top laners you can and force them onto a tank if possible. That's one thing you can try to do against Longzhu. Another, if you're Pro Belter, you got to try to control the mid lane because BDD is a guy who just loves to roam around and get those other side lanes ahead. He'll constantly push up in the wave, push it into the turret, and then go and make something happen in the sideways. If he's on Talia or a Galio, you got to be careful and keep an eye on him at all times.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want him influencing, especially that bottom lane, which again is also going to be key. Cody Sun and Olay have to get back to what they were doing in the semifinals and in the regular season because they were definitely below their own standard set the split against TSM pretty much across all 4 games, I'd say. They had some misplays and some ganks bottom. Obviously, in Game 3, Cody Sun playing catch with the Orianna ball. That kind of led to the team's loss eventually. But, I mean, if they get back to what they were doing before, they're still not at the same level as Prey and Gorilla because no one at this tournament is. But, I mean, I think they can go even, hopefully, at best, in that bottom lane. And that's obviously going to be pretty key for them. But, yeah, ban Jace because if Khan gets that, it's lights out. And I think Jace is a pretty insane pick right now.
Yeah, he's definitely good. I mean, the option for carry top laners is definitely there, whether you opt for it or not. And I guess it kind of depends on what kind of top laner you have. And if you have Khan, I'm picking the carry top laners.
Pick a carry guy.
I can assure you that because he's proven time and time again that he can dominate on it. So stick with that. So,
I mean, Flame looked pretty solid.
He did.
On those, especially Rumble, stuff like that. That's something he can pick out. Not something you see Khan play that much, something like that Rumble. Champion's always meta, even when they change him, nerf him, doesn't matter. That ult is just so game-changing in team fights. But I'm very interested to see what exactly the top lane champions are that are prioritized in this first day of group stages.
I'm going to guess Cho'Gath and Maokai.
Yeah, I think those two will definitely be there. But like, where are teams going to be focusing all these bans? Because there's so many champions to ban.
Even
now.
with 10, it's still...
Even with 10, I mean, Ezreal jungle's popping out. All these things that a season ago, years ago, you would think these are just a meme, a dream meme, that these are actual meta picks. But here we are, 2017.
What a year it is.
What a life.
That's right. So you think Longzhu in this game, obviously?
I think if Immortals are going to take off a game off Longzhu, which I don't think they will, it's got to be the first time they play them because I mean, there is still the inexperience internationally for Longzhu. Not that guys on Immortals have much. In fact, 2 of them have none. So that's a bit of an issue, but it's the same way for Longzhu. This is the only chance I think Immortals will have at beating Longzhu, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think it'll be closer than some people think it will. Immortals might get out to a quick early lead potentially with like Smithy doing some creative stuff, but then it'll just be Longzhu turning things around. As we see, these Korean teams have such a great macro sense that even if they're behind, they can still hang in there, push to late, and then take over. So
yeah, I mean, 3,000 gold leads don't even seem like anything against a lot of the top Korean teams. So need bigger than that. Maybe 10K?
Maybe 10K.
Ooh, too soon.
Yeah, that's
too soon.
Sorry about that one. Now I know it's not League of Legends, guys, but this next guy we're gonna show you, we did some us at Shot Calls eSports working on a documentary called Stream On. This is a clip from that documentary that we will be producing later on in the year, and it features a guy named Rocky No Hands who had an accident when he was, I believe, 19, and he couldn't use his arms anymore, but he still learned how to play PUBG, and he's just crushing it.
It's
absurd.
An amazing story, and how he plays looks insane.
Yeah, and he could definitely destroy Eric and I in some PUBG.
Yes.
So
wouldn't be close.
Check out this video, and then we'll come back to break down the second half of day 1 games. Stay tuned.
All right, Trev, just let me know, man. You're a dude, you just don't know how to change your name color? That's cool, Bunny. I remember, man. Coming in hot, no helmet, no vest, no sights. I'm not scared of my stats. Man down. I started gaming when I was younger, probably like 5 years old. I used to play games like NHL, Call of Duty, Halo before I got hurt. When I was 19 years old, I was at a party with a couple of my friends, and it was just a freak accident where I got dropped on my head wrestling around. Injured at C3, C4 vertebrae on my neck, and my spinal cord got severed. The official diagnosis for me is a tetraplegic, but not many people know that. They just say quadriplegic. After my injury, the toughest adjustment was basically I was a hands-on type of guy. Everything I did was physical, so just not being able to do things like work out, play sports, definitely sucked.
It's a different change of pace for the whole family. Like, he doesn't have a lot that he can do. And like, you want to get his mindset like to do something else.
Probably a couple years after my brother found the quad stick online.
I found it, linked it to him. He's like, it's 250 bucks. Like, I don't want to do it and not be good at it.
My fear with using the quad stick was that I wouldn't be good, and I'm not a type of person that likes to not win.
And I was like, well, you're not going to know. Just buy it. Just try it and let's see.
You gotta go left, right, right, right. That's good, perfect. Right, 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 straight, straight. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It's good. The quad stick is basically one joystick where you have 3 holes in it you can sip or puff on one of the holes, 2 of the holes, or all 3 of the holes at the same time. And you can also light sip or light blow. So you basically have like 32 some odd combinations you can use. Most people probably would be like, what the hell did you just do? I just did like 18 commands to do that though.
I noticed as I'm playing, I'm like, started getting harder and harder and harder. And that's when I was like, man, this is amazing. Amazing that the fact that he could go back to what we did when we were kids, you know? And it gave him something to wake up and do every day and to beat me again.
After you just practice, learn your limits on the thing and what you can and can't do, after a while I got good at it. Oh shit.
Up, incoming.
Oh my god. I just headshot him with the M24 driving.
No.
The best game to use a quad stick for anyone who's never used it is storyline games where you can take your time. But those games are, I don't know, those games are boring to me. I'd rather face another person and let them know that they got beat by my mouth.
Oh, he's resin. He's resin. He's resin his boy. He's resin him right now behind that rock. He's probably up by now. Lay down, lay down. Yeah, you're good.
Oh! I did it! Holy shit! Dude. Like when I play against my brother, he don't see me as handicapped. He sees me as a challenge. Especially in something like For Honor or NHL, he can't beat me at it. So he don't like those games.
A game is like going in my mind, into another world. You know, you're doing things that you can't do in real life. You know, he's able to like get out of his chair, but in the game.
Oh!
Oh!
That was sick!
I think I gravitated towards PUBG because it looked like it was impossible. And a lot of people said that they couldn't win, so I wanted to win to just let everyone know that you can win no matter what. You just gotta try.
Nice. Yeah, baby! Chicken dinner! Woo! Got him!
A year ago, I didn't even know Twitch existed. My brother got real into it, and he was like, I don't see anyone who does what you do. Everyone will probably be really amazed. And I was like, I don't know, I'm a real private dude.
This is a whole different like category of Twitch streamer. Like he's not just playing the game, he's also running a Twitch. And I have a little Twitch myself, and it's difficult for me, and I have my hands.
I feel like I'm just playing video games and having fun. Like if I wasn't on Twitch, I would still be playing video games, having fun. But I think that it's cool that it helps out a lot of people, makes them maybe inspired.
It gives them the same outlet that he gets. You know, maybe they have a brother, or maybe they have a sister that they used to play games with, and now they have that connection again.
To be honest with you, before I got injured, I really didn't even know that could happen to myself. I didn't know that was a thing. So I think when people see me, they ask a lot of questions.
People in a wheelchair, like you just don't realize what they're going through. And then you can tune into Twitch now and you can talk to Rocky. He's bringing awareness that we're the same as everybody else.
For disabilities, some of them can't be fixed. Some of them you just gotta maybe ignore it somewhat. There's people like me out there, and people like me have fun and can do what other people can do. Just gotta find a way around it.
He's just a regular dude and can kick our ass in a video game just like anybody else. It's amazing. I'm super proud of him and what he's become and what he's gonna become.
I think I just like showing people that you can do whatever you want if you try your hardest.
Chicken dinner, baby! Woo! Big Daddy in the house! Hell yeah!
I'm Rocky No Hands. I know I'm the best in the world with quad stick. And I'll challenge anyone on that.
It's a pretty crazy story that guy has. Man, after, a tragic accident like that, still being able to live your dream and play video games at such a high caliber, absurd.
Oh, it's insane that he's probably in the top 1% of at least PUBG. I'm sure he's great at other games too. Just the amount of determination it would take to actually get good at using that quad stick is amazing.
It's pretty insane. Pretty insane. Let's get back to Worlds. We got 3 more games to go to. For day 1. Just for day 1. Wow, so many games, Worlds.
There are a lot of games. They ramp up super quickly. 4 days of group stages, then week of 4 more days. It's a lot of games.
Yeah, and we were talking about this game, Fnatic, Gigabyte Marines, beforehand. And funnily enough, I mean, sure, it's the first game, but we both believe that this is a must-win game for Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, people don't have the utmost confidence in Fnatic in this group. It is between them and Immortals still for that second spot behind Longzhu. But I mean, Fnatic, they've struggled against some teams that they should not struggle against. Yeah, Caps looked pretty fantastic in that best of against Hong Kong Attitude, which is what they need to do, and that's going to be the key for Fnatic. It seems to be a direct correlation in how well Caps plays and how well the team does, because Reckless, consistently great, but when Caps is performing at a high level, then the team just looks so much better, and there's still a chance that they could drop a game to the Marines. I know people don't have pretty much any confidence in the Marines after all their roster swaps stuff. I think there's a pretty different team than we saw at MSI, but if Fnatic drops this game, I mean, that's putting a lot of pressure on themselves for their games against Immortals, and they'd probably have to 2-0 them. So you don't want to dig yourself in a hole right away getting into Worlds. And then it's also a team that might get they're a little tilt prone, and you probably don't want to be doing that on the first day.
Yeah. Also, what's so dangerous about the Marines, especially on day one, is they've said in interviews that they're gonna bring cheesy stuff. And if you're Fnatic, man, coming onto the stage in your first game, and if you were to get cheesed and lose, that puts you so far on the back foot. You're constantly trying to win these next games to just catch up to what the other teams are doing. So, I mean, that would be a drastic loss for them, and one that I can honestly see happen.
I would like to think and give a little bit more confidence in Fnatic, because I do think they're going to turn around and get out of this group. I picked them to get out of this group, mainly just because of what I mentioned before. Cap's playing at a higher level, and that just kind of opening things up. Broxa seems so much more comfortable when there's a little bit more pressure in that mid lane. Obviously, mid lane talent pool a little bit different in this group than the playing stage. But I mean, Optimus as your first opponent for Caps, as easy as it'll get in that group, because Welter and BDD, I would say, are a little bit better. So I think this is a good opportunity for Caps and Fnatic as a whole to prove that they are a team that can actually contend in getting one of these top 2 spots in this group. And yeah, the cheese might come in, but I mean, just be ready for it. Be ready for the cheese. Be ready for them to do some weird stuff, and just stay focused on whatever game plan you have coming into this. And hopefully they didn't over prep for Immortals and Longzhu and under prep for the Marines, because that's one of the issues you have with a weaker team in your group. So.
Yeah, you always got to keep an eye on those weaker teams, even though they're weaker.
That's right.
But yeah, I agree with your point about Caps. The Fnatic's just so much better, and a whole different team when he's performing. You get him on some champs, get him ahead, and all of a sudden there's another carry threat aside from Reckless. Because otherwise it's Fnatic knows Reckless has to carry. The other team also knows Reckless has to carry. So it's just not a good look for them. And that's when they were struggling. When Caps wasn't at his best throughout the split, Fnatic struggled and they didn't look at their best. So against Gigabyte Marines, it's a chance for Caps to get off on a good start. And we'll see. I'm not sold on this game. I do think it can go either way. But I know a lot of people have even put like the Marines getting third ahead of Fnatic in groups.
There's a lot of disrespect towards Fnatic, and
somewhat well-deserved.
Somewhat well-deserved. They did have that dud. They've had a couple of dud series and dud games against Misfits, the game they dropped in the group stage at the play-in, and I think overall it was a pretty dominant, I don't want to say, maybe not dominant, convincing series win over Hong Kong Attitude. And some people, myself included, thought that might go 4 or 5 games, and they did come away with the sweep there. So I think there's a little bit too much disrespect for Fnatic heading into this group.
Fair enough. We'll have to see. This is a chance to prove some people wrong. Well, maybe not prove people wrong. It is still the Marines, but
I don't think it'll change anyone's opinion.
At least be like, you know what, we can beat them.
Yes.
Which is important to do in this tournament. By the way, send us your questions as always, and we will hit them up after a couple more topics.
Yep.
Give us the best you got. And Eric
Only
and I
the
will
best.
answer those. Only the best.
Only the best.
SKT against Cloud9. We've seen it before, and we're going to see it again in Game 5 of the day. This one, I mean, look, last time Jensen struggled against Faker, and obviously it was getting a lot of jungle attention as well.
Yeah, this is the matchup I'm most excited for in Week 1, because Jensen does get a shot at redemption. But if we go all the way back to last year's Worlds, I think it was only the first game, this one on Cassiopeia, where he kind of disrespected just the pressure and stuff from Faker, that he had a bad game. It was that game, he was bad. No argument there. He was bad. C9 didn't look great. But in that second game that they played, I mean, he was actually pretty solid. He was up 80 CS at some points over Faker in those games. So I think they had a legitimate chance to win that game last year at Worlds. And I think this iteration of Cloud9 is a lot better than that one was last year. So I think they've got a chance to take a game off SKT. Jensen coming in has obviously just been rolling over competition in the NALCS, and obviously the play-in a little bit weaker again. But now I think you add in the fact that you have Contracts, who's actually another carry threat, and I think a pretty substantial upgrade over Meteos from last year. Obviously, SKT a totally different team as well, but I think C9 has a chance.
C9's a team that can attack you in so many different ways now. Like you said, Contracts can bring a carry threat out of the jungle, and then all 3 laners have the potential to actually take over games. I mean, Sneaky has looked a lot better, especially in the plans. I thought he was pretty great.
Yeah.
Even in that one game against Lion when Cloud9 was behind, his team fighting looked top-notch again. So if Sneaky stays on that level he was on during plans, obviously, like we keep saying, different level of competition. Banging Wolf is a little different than White Lotus, even though White Lotus was great.
A bit of a drop off.
A bit of a drop off from White Lotus. Yeah, you're right.
I
White
get
Lotus
you.
is obviously the best of the best.
Yeah.
And Jensen, of course, in the mid lane is no slouch, as we know. So if you're SKT, there's a lot to look at on this Cloud9 team and threats from all angles. So even if you get one lane behind, there's still other guys who can take over. But I think they're smart enough to know that we got to attack Jensen. Because even in games when the bot lane gets attention, Jensen can still take over if he's even or ahead.
Yeah, and I think in the top lane is super interesting. The two different SKT top laners, and they're pretty much total opposites in terms of playstyle up there. I mean, yeah, Huni has played a little bit more tanks because SKT and the coaching staff has demanded it, I'm sure. But I mean, he's a guy who can have some crazy carry potential, has such a up and down potential and just different stuff there, whereas Impact is solid. You pretty much know what you're going to get. He's going to play tanks super well. He's going to be able to engage or support Sneaky or Jensen, whoever's ahead in those team fights. I mean, he's a rock for them in the top lane, whereas Huni just has so much variability. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup.
It will be. I'm still looking at SKT to come out on top, but you never know. Cloud9 put up a strong performance in the first game, would send a message to EDG that they're coming after for that second seed.
Yeah, I mean, the key, again, the first game of Worlds is obviously to get a bit of confidence. Even if you don't take the game off SKT, you don't want to go in there and get stomped and the game be over by 15 minutes. You have no chance. Game over by 25. I mean, you want to at least be competitive with SKT, because I think even a loss where they're in it for the most of the time and maybe they make a couple key mistakes that end up costing the game, I think that's enough that you can build some confidence off of and kind of clean up those mistakes.
For sure. Let's get to this last game of day one. It's an exciting one, folks. Edward game against AHQ eSports.
Looks like you fell asleep when you were introducing that game.
I did. A little snooze.
Yeah.
But 3-1 at Worlds, EDG is against AHQ. They've been in the same group in 2014 and then last year as well. So they're in the same group a lot. They're pretty familiar with each other for being from the LMS and the LPL. So one other thing I want to mention about EDG, everyone always says, you know, NA, EU, they'll lose to wildcard teams. Well, last year, Edward Gaming also lost to a wildcard team in INTZ. So they're just as prone to giving up these, you know, wins to weaker teams. And I want to see
HQ a wildcard team?
I'm calling them a weaker team in this example. Yeah. But so they have to still keep an eye on them, even though they're 3-1 against them all the time. AHQ is kind of this team people are sleeping on and saying they're not great this year. They'll probably come out last. They can still take a game potentially off EDG if they underestimate an opponent like they did last year.
Yeah, and I think AHQ probably will get last in this group, but I mean, they probably won't go 0-6. I think they're taking a game or two off someone. They always, I mean, put up a pretty solid fight in groups at Worlds. I don't think you've ever seen AHQ put up a goose egg in the group stage. Yeah. They haven't always made it out, of course, but I mean, they rise to the occasion when it comes to these international competitions and put up a fight. And I just don't know what to expect about pretty much any of the Chinese teams. World Elite didn't look super fantastic in those play-in stages. EDG is the top seed, but people are saying they're actually the weakest team in China. I don't know what to think, man. RNG is either going to go 6-0 or 0-6. I don't know what to expect out of EDG, so this game will be more interesting than I imagine.
Then,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I feel you. I got you. A little confusing, but we got there.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get to questions, Eric and I are going to touch on a couple things real quick. The NALCS made a change that was surprising to me and a lot of people, I think. And they're going back to a best-of-1 system for 2018. The spring split in 2018 is back to a best-of-1. What do you think?
I mean,
down with Riot pitchforks?
I don't believe in pitchforks. They're a farming tool. They're not a weapon.
I
think that, you know, I get that they didn't like, Riot didn't like the dual stream system they had going on for a while. I mean, yeah, people probably aren't going to an entirely separate stream to watch Echo Fox Envy. That's why the viewer numbers on those were usually sub 20K because, I mean, and I think 18,000 of those were probably to see Froggen play. Yeah. So I get why they're doing that in terms of viewership. I don't know how this will. I think one of the main reasons NA was so competitive this year is because teams got used to that best of 3 stuff, having to adapt to things on the fly within a series. Even the best of 2 stuff that they, I guess they never did best of 2. That was only EU.
That was just EU being weird.
Yeah, so they had a full year of best of 3 to just kind of improve the overall competitive integrity. And I don't know if this is going to be taking a step backwards. It might be. I want to know how much input the players actually had in this, right? It says they had some, but how much did they really have?
Yeah, right. It says they did, and then there are players coming out being like, I don't like this decision at all. Pobelter was one of those guys who did not agree with the move back. It does seem like a step backwards if you're in ALCS because, again, the best of 3 system seems like it would help in these international cases. You get more game time. You learn how to adapt on the fly rather than these best of 1s. Or it doesn't necessarily mean you're the better team if you win. It just means, like, you know, you got an early edge and you probably carried the game, whether through a cheesy pick or just like a weird level 1 strat. And that's kind of where teams like CLG thrived in the past. In those best of 1s where they always understood how to start off these games with these interesting, unique plays at level 1, and they would carry it from there. So is this rewarding cheese now if you're in best of 1 format rather than these best of 3s? Because obviously adaptation is no longer an issue.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Teams like G2 and somewhat to an extent, I think TSM have said in these big international competitions, their team isn't that good at best of 1s. Well, maybe if domestically you're always playing best of 1s, and I mean, you look at MSI and Worlds, the group stages are best of 1s. So really, it's not that bad an idea to have these teams practicing playing those type of games throughout the whole split, and then you're still going to be playing best ofs in the playoffs, which is, again, the same format as Worlds and MSI in these international competitions. It's just, instead of lasting 2 weeks, it lasts 3 months for the regular season, or 2 months for the regular season. So maybe it'll help them out.
Why can't teams just treat game 1 like it is a best of 1? Like, you win the first game. I don't really see the issue.
Because then you got to play again.
Okay, so what?
But the best of 1 is like, we got to go all in this game. Because in a group stage, you lose that game, and you're like, well, goodbye, we're out.
I don't know. I guess there's more pressure in a best of 1 situation than a best of 3.
Yeah, and you kind of have to have a more refined game plan heading into that game, obviously. And I think if you're going to best of 1s, TSM and teams like TSM they might not be able to experiment as much with different team comps where you can kind of try something out in game 1 or 2 and be like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Rebound in this one. You can't. I mean, you can do that to an extent, but you can't just be constantly dropping best of 1s.
Fair enough.
So it'll be interesting.
It will be. One more topic before we get to your questions, so send them in, and we will answer them. Also, All Stars has been announced, details released.
Oh, is that what Hey Now means?
It is. It's a throw to one of the greatest bands of all time, Smash Mouth. Shout out.
Greatest bands of all time.
Obviously
Smash
being sarcastic, but
no, Matt is a massive Smash Mouth fan. Oddly enough, he doesn't like the movie Shrek. Thought that ruined the song.
On. Shrek is a great first one.
I like the third one.
Get up my swamp. That's my Shrek.
That was a pretty good Shrek.
There you go, guys.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the All Star has been announced, released, info is out there, and apparently there's going to be 8 regions represented in this thing, including like CBLOL. Turkey, which apparently has enough players to make an all-star team.
It's probably just pick their best team.
Yeah, it's probably just Fenerbahçe. But details are that, you know, only 2 people from a team can make it, and then everyone from a region votes on a coach to represent. They do a best of 1 group stage. Only 1 round robin.
See, best of 1s.
Best of 1s.
Coming back.
And then eventually there's a best of 3 semis, best of 5 finals. And also, there's a 1v1 tournament with 2 players from each region going.
Yeah, and the coaches pick those 2 players for the best of 1s, which will have some salty results, I'm sure.
So it's All Stars. December, I think it was like 7th to 10th or something?
7th, 10th, yeah. I mean, I'm okay with that. That format sounds like the best format they've had. It's kind of got the actual competition, which was great way back in like season 3. I think that whole tournament was
I love that one,
pretty fantastic. And then they've still got this 1v1 tournament, which is a little bit of the goofy stuff that they had before. Some of these All-Star tournaments were a joke. And like not even, I felt like they weren't even worth watching because it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, watch someone last hit till 100 creeps and then they win. Wow. pretty good stuff.
I know. I didn't like the Team Fire, Team Ice stuff. Give me NA, give me EU, give me Korea.
Yeah, no, it's way more. I mean, some of those games, the EU, NA All-Stars, where Doublelift got that pentakill, some of the most exciting games. It feels like it's an actual international competition with some stakes, even though there probably won't be any stakes on any of the games. But it's very interesting to see that. And because there's a lot of fan voting involved, you could probably pick what a lot of the teams are going to be right now, because there's no, after Worlds, there's no tournament before then to kind of gauge what some of these guys are going to, what level they're going to be playing at.
So you're going to see a lot of the same players at Worlds, at All-Stars.
It's going to be a quick turnaround. They're only going to have like a couple weeks off.
I think they're probably like a month.
A month. Good enough.
And it's not like they got to train for All-Stars. No one really cares.
Whoa.
Player-wise.
So you're saying the competitive integrity might be shot because players won't have practiced or played a game of solo queue in a month.
That's right.
Well, now I'm disappointed.
Though, mind you,
you've ruined this event for me.
These players have to participate in 20% of their team's games to actually make it in. So we won't be seeing Scar.
What? Will Damonte make it?
He might.
Okay.
Who knows?
Sweet. Can't wait to see him.
Let's do some questions before we get out of here, Eric.
I'm ready.
Shyful, is TSM the only NA team to make it out of groups? Because he can't see C9 and Immortals getting it. I think Immortals and C9 both have pretty decent chances of getting it. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to, even though I did the other day. I said all 3 teams would get out. But if you look at their predicaments, I mean, Immortals really just have to beat out Fnatic. And, I mean, in a best of 3.
And the Marines.
It could go either way. Sure, the Marines, yes, Eric. But, I mean, Immortals and Fnatic could easily go 1-1 and force a tiebreaker there. Or Immortals could just straight up 2-0 Fnatic. Fnatic could also 2-0 Immortals, but it's a decent chance for them to get out of this group. It's pretty easy as far as Worlds groups go. And then for Cloud9, they're just fighting with Edward Gaming, which people aren't sure about how well they're going to perform. And Cloud9 showed that they're at a good point right now, entering from the play-ins. So, I mean, I think both C9 and Immortals have pretty decent chances based on the groups they drew.
Yeah, TSM has the best chance out of anyone in NA to get out, but I definitely think C9 even more so than Immortals. I'm just a little more confident in C9. I think if they hadn't dropped that series against Dignitas, you'd probably, I think you'd be saying they're the second best team in North America. I think they've shown they're back to their mid-season form, or whenever they were rocking that 6-game series win streak when they were kind of just destroying people. I think they've found that form again. It's a little more consistency in that top lane. And yeah, I just don't know what to think of EDG. So I think C9 has a little bit of a better chance than Immortals to get out. And it's a pretty decent chance. Not bad.
It's not bad. It's realistic that they could potentially get it. It is. iPolygon wants to know, who do you think will win Worlds, Eric? Give it to him.
You know, I don't think it'll be SKT. I think. And then if you don't say SKT, you just have to say Longzhu, and that's kind of boring. I want to say like Samsung.
I like how that's the spicy pick.
Samsung. Yeah. I mean, it's spicier to say like TSM will get to the semis. That's about as spicy as you can probably go for Western teams, right? They're not going to get to the finals. You'd have to have a miracle draw where like Samsung gets second or something, and then they play SKT in the quarters or something, and then SKT plays Longzhu in the semis.
Meanwhile, these Western teams face off in the other side of the bracket.
Yeah. So it'd have to be a pretty dream bracket for that to happen, but I think Samsung could win. SKT, I don't have any super expert analysis why they wouldn't win. It's super hard to go against them. Maybe only Huni. Huni is he's a volatile guy in the top lane. You don't know fully what you're going to get from him. I don't know if their jungling issue is solved. I know they brought both guys, but I mean, at times both of them have looked rough. So there's no third guy they're throwing in.
There's not.
Unless Faker wants to switch into the jungle. So SKT, I think of their Worlds appearances, they're looking the weakest, which isn't saying much because they've been absolutely insane.
Even if they're at their weakest, they could still potentially win a fourth.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, I'm probably leaning Longzhu. Their team is just so loaded. Prey's been to so many Worlds, dating back to Season 2, Gorilla is this
Been around a
innovator, this playmaker in a support position, and the team just meshes so well with so many carries. I guess it's them. Boring picks, but I mean,
maybe Khan and BDD poop the
It's
bed
possible.
on the
we're nervous.
world stage. That's what they say.
We're nervous, guys.
That's what they say
That's right.
after
In
the
English,
match.
of course.
Yeah, they speak it fluently.
They do.
Yeah.
All right. Alessandro wants to know SKT1 versus EDG. Thoughts?
I feel like SKT will 2-0 them.
Yep.
I really don't have much confidence in EDG, if I'm being fully honest. They got a super young AD carry who has basically no international exposure. I mean, going against SKT, like the most storied organization in the history of League of Legends. That's pretty intimidating for your first big international competition. And I mean, Clear Love has been around for a decade, basically since the game's inception. So I'm not feeling super confident in EDG. And I know I just talked down SKT saying they're weakest ever coming into Worlds, but they're still SKT.
Exactly.
They're still heavy favorites in that group, and they're probably going to go 5-1 or 6-0. So, and I don't know if EDG is the team that'll beat them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be up to Mako to a certain degree to try to rein in iBoy and see what they can do from that spot. But yeah, like you said, Clear's been around for what seems like forever. And for iBoy, I mean, I think he's only played like 20 games, period. So
Yeah.
even his like domestic experience is pretty limited. So I mean, it's a big jump to a world stage against SKT.
You're getting tossed into the fire pretty quickly going up against a team like SKT. So
Yeah.
good luck.
Well, a couple people want to know what ranks we are, of course, because these guys are talking about League of Legends. What do they know? They're probably idiots in bronze. Well, Eric, show them your challenger jacket. Go get it.
I don't have a challenger jacket. I do have a windbreaker though.
Oh,
So
it's pretty much the
that's
same thing.
Pretty much what a challenger jacket is.
Yeah.
It's a windbreaker that they patched a logo on. So I'm actually top 1 right now in NA. Top 1.
Top 1.
That's right.
That's pretty good.
No, I'm plat 4.
But what was your peak?
I feel like
When you played a lot, Eric, tell them what you can accomplish.
that was many moons ago. Many moons ago.
See,
it was a different era.
Right now, Eric and I are kind of like Cloud9 balls sitting in Diamond 3, the old meme there.
Yeah.
When we were in our
I
prime,
wish
though,
I was Diamond
challenge
3.
it.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
okay, scale it back.
You just bumped everything up. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could get Diamond before, but
Look at him.
not anymore.
Yeah,
Washed up.
I know. Oh,
I gotta wince to see the screen so far away.
you wear those glasses?
Yeah.
The yellow ones?
Yeah. I got a big keyboard because I can't see the keys, so it's like.
Which one's Q?
Yeah.
Oh, you play like that, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. That looks.
I
Yeah.
don't use the mouse.
Feeling
so
old,
It's
man.
a pretty big struggle. but
Feels old, man.
Feels old, man.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm struggling in the high section of gold right now, but I was plat back in the day. I know, scrub.
Gross.
Right.
You're also a flamer when you play.
Oh, let me tell you.
He's a bad one.
I'm a bad one. Hugo Pena. Any teams from the playing stage that surprised you with their performance? Tell them about your boy.
Well, White Lotus.
That's
oh,
him.
man. White Lettuce was fantastic. He had some hype coming in, but I wasn't expecting him to be that good. I still think he was the best AD carry in that tournament.
Yeah.
Small tournament. He was fantastic. But I thought World Elite would have been way more dominant in that whole stage, and they didn't drop a game, so that's pretty dominant. But, I mean, some of them were not convincing at all. Both games against Lion, and even in that best of against, who they play, YG? Who did they play? Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought they would have steamrolled them. And, again, they did 3-0 them in pretty convincing fashion, but I was expecting, like, absolute dumpsters, just destroying them, which they did.
Yeah, I know. World Elite was a little questionable. Yeah, Lion looked pretty good for me, coming out of a region you don't expect, and White Lotus was nasty. Nasty.
Coming to an NALCS
Near you?
near you very
Nice.
soon.
Shyful, should Riot increase 16 teams to 32 teams for Worlds? That seems pretty extreme.
There would be a lot of bad teams if that happened.
I mean, is that not kind of what they did this year by making the play-ins? It kind of does that.
Yeah, it made, like, how many were there? 22 teams in
Something
total?
like that. And that
24?
the way they did it, I think, was perfect. Because I don't want to see SKT against goddamn young generations. I'm sorry, I don't want it.
Yeah, no, I like this play-in thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of a nice little warm-up to Worlds to get you in the mood. And yeah, you sift out the not-so-competitive teams pretty easily before they actually have to go play these giant organizations. So maybe they expand the play-in pool a little bit, maybe do 4 teams in each group, something like that. But any more than that, and I mean, you're not going to have very interesting games because these other teams are just not at the level of some of these other guys. Unless you're expanding like 4 Korean teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it.
Maybe throw in another team for every major region.
I feel like at that point, though, you just dilute what Worlds is about. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if 4 teams get in all of a sudden, it's like, well, it's not that hard anymore.
Well, then you got to expand all the leagues. You got to have 16 teams in every league, you know. Because then you got H2K coming into Worlds. Is that what we want?
Yeah. No, it's not. I don't want it.
GLG?
I don't want it.
All right. Okay. Jeez. Sorry.
Stop. Charles Glenn, would you like to see the finals move to a best of 7? See, my issue with the best of 7, I think there might be like laws about this because keeping players on stage for
They need
7
food.
to 8 hours. Can we get a break? No. Reginald's just putting them on their chains.
I mean, they
on
get a
stage.
banana in between games. Banana
and like
some water,
coffee.
maybe a yogurt.
They just
A
keep
little
jittering
yogurt.
onto stage.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nuts.
I'd be fatigued.
Especially if some of these games, if you play like game 6 and it's like a 55-minute game, and then you go backstage and they're like, we got another one, boys. It is like 2 a.m., man. I just want to leave. Well, this is for the championship. I don't even care anymore. We've been here so long. That would be a little too long.
It would be. Yeah, I don't. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah. Unless they made it like 2 days.
2 days, not bad.
Might be too long, though.
Shy Fool, which season is the best season for SKT? Season 3, 5, 6?
Like, when were they strongest?
Yeah.
At Worlds or the whole thing? That's a question. There you go. That
It's
doesn't
been
really matter.
deleted. Let's go with Worlds.
Probably season 5. Season 5 is when they beat Rocks in the finals, right? Because last year they beat Samsung in the finals.
My memory is not what it's used to. Again, Eric and I are pretty old.
That's true. Feels old, man.
The memory
Talked
is
about
gone.
I mean, season 3, they kind of had the hype, but they weren't even the top Korean seed coming into that tournament, which is very interesting. I will say season 5.
Yeah, and again, every year, like teams keep getting better and better. The competition gets tougher. Even in season 3 was kind of the early days of like LCS and all these teams at Worlds. So I think as the time went on, SKT kept getting better to beat out the competition as it improved too.
Yeah, and I think season 5 is when you had like Marin, who was probably their most dominant top laner that they've had.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the role that's getting pretty cycled. Basically every season they seem to get a new top laner. So I think season 5.
Lock it in.
Locked
There
it in.
it is.
Final answer.
Gravity asks, will Ivan come back into the meta? You brought this up earlier. Tell him why he might, Eric.
Well, there's one simple reason, and it's because Ardent Sensor is the dumbest item in the game at the moment. If you can get an Ardent Sensor champion in every single lane, that's probably pretty solid. That seems to be a good strategy. So Ivern, one of the few junglers who can do it. I think that's one of the main reasons Ezreal is a big pick right now, is because it's just more guys you can buff with Ardent Sensor. So potentially I could see Ivern doing something. He might struggle against some of these more aggressive junglers though.
Sure.
But I could see it happening.
Ivern still fits with the whole protect the carry comp too. That shield can be pretty
Absolutely.
crazy as you get into the late game. So.
The shields in the late game are just some of the worst things to play against. It doesn't matter how much burst you have when you have a Janna, Lulu, Ivern with a locket. That's like twice the 80 carries health in shields. So it's pretty insane.
It's pretty nuts though. Shy Fool, which player will likely tilt the most during groups, Eric? Couple guys on the agenda.
Yeah, let's see. Your candidates are probably going to be Huni, Soaz. Who else is pretty tilt prone, if you will?
G2 as a unit.
G2 as a unit, yeah. Probably, I would say Trick the most out of those guys
Sure.
on G2. Who else? Maybe Westor, depending on how much he plays. Might do some just, I'm locking in Fizz. Oh, please.
I'm down for Fizz.
I'm locking in Fizz. I'm going in.
Play the Fizz.
I'll 1v1 him and dying. So that might get him benched. But I think those are the main candidates, probably.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who the award goes to.
That's
My
true.
money's on Soaz, believe it or not.
They can still win when he's tilted.
That is
They
true.
have. So
Which team is most likely to do an upset in day one?
in day one,
I'd probably say the Marines over Fnatic.
I might go with AHQ.
That's
Upset
possible too,
EDG. Again, I'll say it for the third time. Not very confident in EDG. And AHQ, the same reason I just said, Westor might tilt with a Fizz. Maybe the Fizz comes in, he goes 10-0.
Eric thinks he's playing Fizz.
Yeah, he probably won't even play. I think Chawi will probably play.
That's
so.
probably the most likely thing.
But I think AHQ might get that game and might be their only win of the group stage. But spicy start.
It is indeed. Sebastian Perez, can the Marines make it out of groups, making the 2017 Albus run? I mean, this Marines team isn't the MSI team. It's different than that. So, again, we keep mentioning Archie in the top lane. That's a big issue. It is a big problem.
Yeah.
We're beating a dead horse, but it's going to be a problem. And I think if you have such a huge hole in one position at Worlds, it's going to be exploited pretty massively.
Yeah, now we say they're not that great a team. They can't pull off an Albus Nox, but Albus Nox wasn't that great a team. I mean, a lot of those guys were on Gambit, and how'd they do? They were awful. And that Gambit team beat the other members of the old Albus Nox to get into that playing stage in the LCL finals. So Albus Nox wasn't that great a team, and they got all the way through to quarters. I think it was Odawamne was doing some show talking about playing them, and he thought they would have been a bottom 3 team in the EU LCS. So, I mean, if that's the standard that the Marines are trying to beat, it is 2 Western teams they got to beat to get out. So,
yeah, indeed. Yeah. All right, a few more questions, Eric.
All right.
The Shrimper, what Western team do you think should sign White Lotus? Your boy White Lotus.
Well, I mean, he's an upgrade for everyone.
Yes, everyone. So, he can go to any team.
Yeah. I mean, a team like Echo Fox, maybe.
That would make sense. Goodbye, Keith.
That would maybe actually make them an okay team or help them. They have 2 huge carries on that team. I think Froggen just needs another guy who can carry, so that consistently. And White Lotus would be that guy.
He would be that guy.
So I think that's the
like
prime candidate.
Seems like a good place to start for a guy like White Lotus coming into North America.
Yeah, pretty established organization. Players seem to speak highly of Rick Fox and the whole organization there. So come on down to Echo Fox.
Yeah, and EU's tough because there's going to be a lot of turnover over there too with the whole change. So.
I guess there probably will be an NA too with franchising, but Echo Fox, you can also learn from the prodigal son, God himself, Michael Santana.
Yeah. So that's right.
Yeah.
Liars are on. What happened to Clearlove? So poor this split. Guy's getting old, man. Guy's getting old. He
feels old, man.
Feels old. That's right.
He's got to wear glasses now. He's probably what, like 24, 25?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's still got the mind. He's still pretty smart when it comes to the game, but the mechanics are probably falling off a bit.
I mean, it's hard to like have synergy with your team when there's such constant turnover with them.
That is also true.
He doesn't have the same team. He pretty much has a new team every split, it seems like. I mean, you had the Deft and Pawn era. They were there for one full year, calendar year, something like that. They weren't there that long, so it's hard to develop synergy with these guys. And yet, he's still the top seed in the LPL, so you can't be struggling that bad.
No, you definitely can't. 2 final questions, Eric.
All right.
SHA Chase, how disappointed will you be if no NA team makes it out of groups? I mean, it'd also be pretty funny. It would also be pretty funny.
I mean, it goes, how highly do you weigh memes compared to, like,
I enjoy a good meme.
Joy if you're a fan of the team, because those would be very tasty memes. But I think you'd have to be a little disappointed if none of them got out. Mainly, I think if Immortals and Cloud9 don't get out, you're like,
sure,
okay. I mean, you probably could have, but you didn't. If TSM doesn't get out, then they are going to get roasted and toasted by everyone.
That's right.
So it would be disappointing.
It would. Yeah, TSM almost has to get out of this group.
Yes.
Has
They
to.
have to.
They do. All right. Here we go. The final one, Eric. From Fast and 08. Your favorite worlds from 2011 to 2016. Which one was it? I mean, 2012 was so great with
TPA?
TPA Assassins making that crazy run.
Yeah.
That was a memorable one because that's the 1 year at Worlds where you're like, oh, the favorite didn't win, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I really enjoyed the 2015 one
With Fnatic and Origin.
with Fnatic and Origin both getting to the semis. I think that was pretty awesome and pretty unlikely. I mean, Fnatic obviously came in with their insane EULCS record, and then they actually won that group, which
Yeah.
was pretty fantastic. And then Origin, don't think anyone was expecting them to do so well in that group. Then they get the favorable matchup in the quarters against Flash Wolves. The hype was so high for the Europeans at that point that some people were actually picking Fnatic over. Did they play SK? They played SKT, or did they play Rocks? I can't remember. They both got 3-0'd.
I think one team won a
Or
game.
did they win a game?
I think someone won. Anyways, but yeah,
Some people were actually picking the European teams. That's how high the height levels had gotten.
it was
So
crazy.
that was very interesting. And then Origin as an organization fell off the face of the earth and died.
they're gone.
They're gone.
They're not
Rest
even in the
peace.
EULCS
They
anymore.
don't exist.
No, that's tilt.
That's tilt.
That's tilt.
It's a tilted stage, as Taylor Swift would say.
She's pretty wise.
She's
Wise
very
beyond her
wise.
years. That's right.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it?
That's the show today. But tomorrow
We'll be back soon.
we'll be back in do the math again.
Too much pressure.
Anyway, we'll be back
20 hours?
Let's say 10:30, 11 EDT tomorrow. After all the World's games are done, Eric and I will pop on with some highlights and give a quick breakdown of what went wrong or what went right for some of these teams.
Yes, so if you want to come in and chat about the first day of games, there'll be plenty to talk about, I'm sure. Whether there's upsets or not, there's always... It's a lot of games. Something crazy is going to happen.
For sure. And same deal Friday.
That's 3 days in a row.
I know. Oh, God. Right, Eric?
Boy, I'm going through my whole wardrobe. Jeez, 3 days
I know.
in a row.
I'm running
Holy
out of shirts. I
smokes.
got to go
Holy
shopping
smokes.
or something.
Yeah.
Go
This
check
is
the dumpster
desperate.
out back. Yeah,
This
that's what
is
I'm saying.
desperate.
Anyways, I'm going to rest up because the World starts at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, and Matt's going to stay up and watch every single
That is
game.
correct.
He's going to bed right now. Good night.
Yep, see it. Going home. Anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bright and early. Enjoy the first day of Worlds, everyone.